Picture this, if you can, a whale with 4 sturdy legs, casually strolling across a sun-drenched beach. Or imagine a worm, not the kind you find in your garden, but one the size of your arm, ruling the ancient seas with an iron or chitinous fist. And how about a gentle leaf-munching giant, sporting claws so massive and scythe-like, they look like they were built for pruning trees, not for tearing apart prey. Sounds like something straight out of a fantastical creature feature, right? Well, prepare to have your mind blown, because these aren't sci-fi monsters conjured from a screenwriter's imagination. Oh no, these are real, honest-to-goodness chapters of Earth's incredibly long and often utterly bizarre story. And every single one of them, without fail, made scientists take the textbooks they thought were finished, the ones they'd meticulously written and confidently taught from, and just rip them right up. For 2 centuries, give or take, the grand narrative of life on Earth seemed pretty straightforward, didn't it? The story went something like this. Life started simple, incredibly simple, and then, for what felt like eons, it pretty much stayed that way. Then, at some point, there was this grand, spectacular explosion, a sudden burst of biodiversity. After that, creatures mostly just tweaked the existing blueprints, making minor adjustments here and there. It was all very neat, very tidy, very easy to pass an exam on. A comforting, predictable tale. But then, something wonderful and deeply unsettling for the status quo started to happen. Paleontologists, those tireless detectives of deep time, began digging in places no one had really bothered to look before. They ventured into the frigid, unforgiving freezer that is Greenland. They braved the scorching, desolate sands of Namibia's desert, and they painstakingly sifted through ancient riverbanks in Pakistan. And guess what? That neat, tidy story, it utterly collapsed. It shattered into a million fascinating pieces. Today, we're going on an incredible journey, hurtling through deep time to uncover 10 fossils so utterly outrageous, so gloriously unexpected, that they quite literally forced researchers to rewrite the rules of life on the fly. 10 impossible beasts that, against all odds, actually existed. So, buckle up, because your understanding of Earth's past is about to get a serious upgrade. Let's kick things off with a real mind-bender. Namacalathus hominests. Imagine, if you will, about 550 million years ago. That's way, way back. We're talking well before the first trilobites scuttled across the seafloor, and certainly eons before anything resembling a dinosaur even began to stir in the evolutionary soup. Back then, the oceans weren't teeming with complex, shelled creatures or darting fish. Mostly, they held soft, squishy mats of microbial life. Think of them as living carpets, vast and unassuming, rather than the bustling, multi-story reef condos we see today. But then, enter this delicate little creature, roughly the size of a golf ball, sat atop a slender, worm-like stalk, gently filtering nutrients from the ancient seawater. It sounds simple enough, right? Here's the kicker. The detail that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Its body came pre-fitted with a calcium carbonate frame. Yes, you heard that right. This wasn't some soft-bodied blob. It had a mineralized skeleton. And why is that such a big deal? Because this bone-making chemistry, this ability to build hard parts, appeared 9 million years before the Cambrian explosion. The very event that supposedly invented hard parts and ushered in the age of complex animal life. When the first Namacalathus fossils were unearthed, researchers, understandably, were a bit skeptical. The prevailing wisdom was so deeply entrenched that the initial reaction was to shrug it off, perhaps as a misdated sponge or some odd, non-animal anomaly. Surely, they must have thought, a complex, skeletonized animal couldn't exist, early. But then, dozens more specimens started showing up, all remarkably similar, all displaying the same tiny, hollow windows within their calcium carbonate skeletons. And these aren't just random holes. Those windows, when examined under high magnification, matched the cellular layers seen only in true, multicellular animals, not in simpler organisms like algae or bacteria. The implications were profound. We're talking about a complex body plan, a fully mineralized skeleton, 500 million years ago. This wasn't just a minor adjustment to the timeline. This find yanked the origin of skeletal animals back so hard, so violently, that it left a massive skid mark on the evolutionary timeline. It fundamentally reshaped our understanding of when and how life truly started to get complex, proving that the story was far more nuanced and ancient than anyone had dared to imagine. It was a wake-up call, a testament to the fact that just because we haven't found the evidence yet, doesn't mean it isn't out there, waiting to rewrite history. Now, let's fast forward a bit, about 500 million years or so, to a time roughly 47 million years ago. Our setting, the sun-baked ancient landscape of what is now northern Pakistan. Here, nestled within a shallow lagoon, a truly astonishing creature once lived, a four-legged whale, a beast known as Mucetus, and here's the most unbelievable part. This whale was giving birth on land. Yes, you heard that correctly. Asterisk on land asterisk. Imagine that for a moment, a creature we instinctively associate with the boundless ocean, hauling itself ashore for one of life's most intimate moments. The fossil evidence is incredibly poignant. A mother and her fetus, preserved together in a curled embrace, like a marine Pompeii snapshot, frozen in time. Mucetus wasn't some clumsy, desperate attempt at an aquatic mammal. It was a creature perfectly poised between two worlds. Its hind legs were robust, strong enough to pump the animal across sandy shores, suggesting it spent significant time out of the water. Its nostrils were still positioned up near its snout, a land mammal trait, rather than on top of its head like modern whales. Yet, crucially, its ear bones were already thickened, a specialized adaptation for hearing underwater. This blend of traits was utterly baffling to early paleontologists. When they first encountered these fossils, some were so perplexed they initially mislabeled it as a weird kind of crocodile. But once they meticulously mapped the ear structure, once they uncovered that signature whale bulge, a dense bone formation unique to cetaceans that helps transmit sound underwater, the pieces clicked into place. There was only one logical spot for Mucetus on the tree of life, smack dab in the middle, a perfect evolutionary bridge between hoofed land mammals and the sleek, fully aquatic flukes we know today. So, the impossible truth slowly, beautifully, sank in. Whales didn't just appear in the sea. They invented the sea, in a manner of speaking, by first inventing a really good camel impression. Mucetus is a living, breathing, or rather fossilized testament to the incredible step-by-step transformation that took place over millions of years, showing how terrestrial ancestors gradually ventured back into the water, adapting their bodies in astounding ways. It's a story of evolution's sheer ingenuity, a narrative that proves even the most radical transitions are built on a series of smaller, logical adaptations. This wasn't a single leap. It was a carefully orchestrated, multi-million-year dance of adaptation, and Mucetus was one of its most compelling performers. Just 2 million years before Mucetus was navigating its dual existence, another pivotal player in the whale saga roamed the coastal swamps, Ambulocetus, whose name literally means walking whale. Now try to picture this, a furry, formidable creature, roughly the length of a sofa, with a powerful, crocodile-like body. Its feet were unmistakably webbed, perfect for propelling itself through water, but also capable of supporting its weight on land. Its eyes were perched high on top of its skull, like a built-in snorkel, allowing it to keep a watchful gaze above the surface, while its body remained submerged, hidden from unsuspecting prey. Ambulocetus could certainly stride on land a lumbering, powerful gait, but the structure of its pelvis clearly indicates that its primary method of propulsion in water was through powerful undulations of its tail, much like an otter or a crocodile. It was, in essence, half whale, half otter, a perfect evolutionary hybrid. When the first nearly complete skeleton of Ambulocetus arrived at the lab in 1994, even the seasoned excavators, who had spent their lives unearthing strange and ancient things, couldn't help but laugh. What they had dug up seemed like a chimera, a fantastical beast stitched together from disparate parts. It defied easy categorization, challenging every preconceived notion of what an early whale should look like. Yet the evidence was undeniable. Its limb proportions, the intricate structure of its ankle bones, even the subtle details of its neck vertebrae, all of these features lined up perfectly. They showed clear affinities with earlier land-dwelling artiodactyls, even-toed ungulates, the group from which whales evolved, and crucially, with later, more ocean-bound protocetids, the direct ancestors of modern whales. Ambulocetus was an unapologetic, undeniable bridge. It was one species, perfectly adapted to two worlds, demonstrating without a shadow of a doubt that the journey from land to sea was not only possible, but had left behind a clear fossilized trail. It's a powerful reminder that evolution isn't always about neat, linear progression. Sometimes it's about audacious experimentation, about creatures perfectly comfortable in the liminal spaces between environments. Let's take another dramatic leap, this time to the Oligocene epoch in South America, roughly 25 million years ago. Imagine a creature called Chilicotherium roaming the plains. If you were to describe it, you might say it looked like a draft horse, but one that had been designed by a rather eccentric committee. This magnificent beast possessed long, powerful forelimbs, tipped with massive, intimidating claws. Yet, paradoxically, its teeth were clearly those of a herbivore, designed for grinding plant matter, not tearing flesh, and its gait. It allowed it to rear up on its hind legs, much like a giant ground sloth, reaching high into the canopy. When early scientists encountered these fossils, they saw those formidable claws and, naturally, their first instinct was to exclaim, "Predator." It made perfect sense, didn't it? Claws that size typically belong to carnivores, to animals that hunt and kill. But then, as more fossils were found and meticulously studied, a different, far more surprising picture emerged. Researchers examined the wear patterns on its teeth and found something remarkable: exclusively plant polish. No evidence of bone crunching, no telltale signs of meat consumption, just the smooth, abraded surfaces characteristic of a diet rich in fibrous vegetation. Further investigation even revealed stomach stones, known as gastroliths, used by many herbivores to aid in grinding tough greens. So, what were those massive claws for? They certainly weren't for carnage. Instead, the evidence strongly suggested they functioned like built-in pruning shears, or perhaps more accurately, like a giant, biological cherry-pick. Chilicotherium would use its powerful forelimbs and those impressive claws to hook branches, pull them down to an accessible height, and then strip them of their leaves and tender shoots. And its feet, hooves, the hallmark of many large herbivores, were nowhere in sight. Instead, it had stubby, almost nail-like digits. Here was a creature, a relative of hoofed animals, that had completely lost its hooves, bulked up like a rhinoceros or a hippo, and then reinvented itself as a living, breathing, high-ridge browser. Evolution, once again freelanced, demonstrating an astonishing capacity for repurposing existing structures and finding novel solutions to ecological challenges. Chilicotherium is a beautiful example of how form doesn't always follow the most obvious function, and how life finds a way to fill every available niche, no matter how unusual the adaptations required. Let's slide back in time once more, all the way to early Cambrian Greenland, a staggering 518 million years ago. This was a period when animal arms races were just beginning, when life was truly figuring out the whole predator-prey dynamic. Buried deep within the ancient sediments of the Sirius Passet Formation, a treasure trove of early Cambrian life, lies Timor Bestia, a name that chillingly translates to terror beast. And a terror beast it truly was. Imagine a 30-centimeter arrow of pure muscle, equipped with fins for propulsion, antennae for sensing its environment, and a set of scissor-like jaws that could snap shut with terrifying efficiency. Now, 30 centimeters might not sound like much today, but that length is absolutely monumental when you consider the context. Most of the creatures swimming around in those ancient seas could easily hide under a postage stamp. Timor Bestia was a true leviathan of its time, an apex predator in a world of microscopic munchers. The evidence for its predatory prowess is undeniable. When researchers meticulously examined the gut contents of fossilized Timor Bestia specimens, they found the remains of smaller prey, swallowed whole. This discovery completely upended the long-held idea that only tiny, unassuming filter feeders ruled the early Cambrian seas. Timor Bestia proved that large, active predators were already a dominant force, shaping the very earliest food webs. The researchers who painstakingly chipped these incredible fossils from the shale even recount a fascinating detail. They swear the rock still carries a faint scent of sulfur, a ghostly echo of some ancient blood in the water, a testament to the raw visceral reality of this primordial hunter. Timor Bestia isn't just another fossil. It's a window into the very dawn of complex ecosystems, a stark reminder that even in its infancy, life was already engaged in a fierce, fascinating struggle for survival. It forces us to re-evaluate the complexity of early life and the speed at which sophisticated predatory strategies evolved. From the depths of ancient Greenland, let's soar into the Cretaceous sky, approximately 100 million years ago, over what is now the vast arid landscape of Queensland, Australia. Here, a magnificent creature with a wingspan of a breathtaking 4.6 meters, a pterosaur named Haliskia petersini, banked gracefully over the sparkling Eromanga Sea. This wasn't just any pterosaur. This was a specialized aerial hunter, snapping up squid and fish with incredible precision. The fossils of Haliskia are remarkably well preserved, offering an unprecedented glimpse into its anatomy and lifestyle. We can see the delicate outline of its throat pouch, which likely expanded to hold its slippery prey. We can discern the fine membranes of its wings, a testament to its mastery of flight, and perhaps most intriguingly, we can even make out the tiny ridges on its beak, the very spots where salt glands once sat, crucial for expelling excess salt ingested from its marine diet, a common adaptation in seabirds and marine reptiles. Now, pterosaurs of this impressive size were certainly known to science. The skies of the Cretaceous were home to some truly gigantic flying reptiles. However, Haliskia presented a unique puzzle. Its precise combination of a long, narrow skull and significantly enlarged hyoid bones, the bones that support the tongue and larynx, was unlike anything seen before. This anatomical configuration strongly indicated a muscular, vacuum cleaner-like tongue, perfectly adapted for slurping up cephalopods, like squid and cuttlefish, with astonishing efficiency. Imagine it, this colossal flying reptile, diving from the sky, not just snatching fish, but actively sucking up squid like they were strands of spaghetti. It's a truly wild image. While land-bound dinosaurs certainly had their own fears of aerial shadows passing overhead, it seems the ammonites and other cephalopods of the Eromanga Sea learned to fear a new kind of terror from above. Haliskia petersini is a brilliant example of the incredible diversity and specialization that evolved among pterosaurs, showing how these flying reptiles carved out unique ecological niches, dominating the ancient skies with specialized hunting techniques we're only just beginning to fully appreciate. Let's plunge into the late Triassic oceans, to a discovery that quite literally made waves: the Somerset ichthyosaur. In 2018, a casual beachcomber in Somerset, England, stumbled upon something extraordinary. It wasn't a pretty pebble or a piece of driftwood, it was a chunk of jawbone, a colossal fragment measuring over 2 meters long. Now, for most of us, a 2-meter bone would be an amazing find in itself. But for paleontologists, it was a crucial piece of a much larger, mind-boggling puzzle. This single bone, once meticulously analyzed and compared to known ichthyosaur anatomy, slotted perfectly into a creature estimated to have stretched more than 25 meters in length. Think about that for a moment. 25 meters. That's longer than a city bus, rivaling the immense size of today's blue whale, the largest animal on Earth. Until this astonishing discovery, scientists generally capped ichthyosaur growth at around 15 meters. They were certainly impressive marine reptiles, but nothing quite on this scale was thought to have existed. The clincher, the undeniable proof of its immense size and maturity, came from the bone itself. Its spongy core showed distinct remodeling patterns, features seen only in fully grown, adult individuals. This wasn't just a lucky juvenile that might have grown even larger. This was a mature, fully grown megapredator. The implications were staggering. Predators of the late Triassic, a period often overshadowed by the later age of dinosaurs, had to share their ocean with something longer than many skyscrapers are wide, and undoubtedly packing double rows of dinner plate-sized teeth. The rulebook once again was not just bent, but utterly torn to shreds. The Somerset ichthyosaur forces us to completely reevaluate the scale of marine life in the Triassic, demonstrating that the oceans were home to giants far earlier and far more immense than previously imagined. It's a testament to the fact that even well-studied groups can still hold monumental surprises, waiting for the right piece of bone to be unearthed. Before dinosaurs truly took center stage and dominated the Mesozoic era, the Triassic plains were home to a fascinating array of other reptiles. Among the most remarkable were the etosaurs, creatures that can best be described as four-legged tanks. These animals were literally covered in knobbly armor plates, or osteoderms, that interlocked with incredible precision, much like the sophisticated brigandine armor worn by medieval knights. This wasn't just a scattering of scales. It was a full body suit of defensive plating, a formidable deterrent against any would-be predator. One particularly well-preserved specimen from Texas even sports a distinct tail club, reminiscent of later ankylosaurs, and, astonishingly, pigment traces suggesting bands of color, nature's very own traffic warning, perhaps signaling to others that this wasn't an animal to be trifled with. Early paleontologists, seeing this heavy armor and the general reptilian form, often lumped etiosaurs in with ankylosaurs, assuming they were close relatives. But as more complete fossils emerged and detailed anatomical studies were conducted, a different lineage became clear. The structure of their hips, the way their osteoderms grew and articulated, all these features pointed to a surprising truth. Etiosaurs were stem crocodilians. That means they were ancient relatives of modern crocodiles, representing an early, heavily armored branch of the crocodilian family tree. It suggests that today's semi-aquatic crocs, with their sleek, hydrodynamic bodies, actually trimmed down their ancestral armor over millions of years, streamlining for a life in the water. Back in the Triassic, however, these plant-eating relatives of crocodiles were essentially grazing ferns like cattle, but cattle-clad head-to-tail in full plate mail. It's a fantastic example of divergent evolution, showing how a common ancestor can give rise to wildly different forms adapted to vastly different lifestyles, and how the cool factor of armor wasn't just reserved for the dinosaurs. Etiosaurs remind us that evolution is full of unexpected twists and turns, and that the past often holds forms that defy our modern expectations. Let's journey to the Pliocene shorelines of the North Atlantic, a mere 3 to 5 million years ago. Here, we encounter Antacitus postii, a blunt-nosed marine mammal that, at first glance, looks remarkably like a walrus. It had the distinctive tusks, the impressive bulk, and the general body plan of its modern Arctic cousins. However, there was a crucial difference. Antacitus lacked the specialized adaptations for hauling out onto ice or navigating frigid polar waters. The clues to its lifestyle are etched in its fossilized teeth, found in locations like England and Belgium. These teeth boast exceptionally thick enamel, a robust design perfectly suited for crushing the shells of clams and other mollusks, rather than the ice-prying activities of today's walruses. Further compelling evidence comes from carbon isotope analysis of the enamel. These isotopes act like tiny chemical fingerprints, revealing details about an animal's diet and, crucially, its environment. In the case of Antacitus, the isotopes indicated a diet sourced from temperate seas, not the icy waters of the Arctic. So, what do we have? A walrus body plan, complete with tusks, but thriving in a much warmer ice-free habitat. It suggests a southern suction-feeding vacuum, a creature that predated modern, ice-dependent walruses by a good 3 million years. It's a classic example of evolution prototyping a successful body plan in one environment before it becomes specialized for another. The walrus form, it seems, was first developed and refined in balmier waters long before the poles offered up their vast, icy real estate as a new frontier. Antacitus shows us that evolutionary innovations often emerge in unexpected places, and that adaptations that seem perfectly suited to one environment today might have had their origins in a completely different ecological context. It's a testament to the opportunistic nature of natural selection, always ready to seize a good design and adapt it for new challenges. Our final incredible beast brings us back to the Triassic, to the sheltered lagoons where a truly bizarre reptile called Tanystropheus once resided. Imagine a creature whose neck measured an astonishing 3 times the length of its torso. Yes, you read that right, a neck that stretched out like an impossibly long, slender pole. Early reconstructions of Tanystropheus were, shall we say, a bit speculative. Some depicted it high-stepping on land, its impossibly long neck held aloft like a giraffe. Others imagined it using its neck as a literal snorkel, its body submerged while its head poked out of the water, breathing air. It seemed like a creature that defied the very laws of biomechanics. How could such a long, delicate neck possibly function? The true genius of Tanystropheus, however, was only revealed with the advent of modern technology. Micro-CT scans of its skull cavities, offering an unprecedented look inside its ancient brain case, revealed something fascinating. Pressure-sensing canals, remarkably similar to those found in crocodiles. These canals are perfect for detecting the subtle turbulence created by fish swimming nearby. even if the fish themselves are out of sight. This discovery, combined with detailed analysis of its vertebrae, painted a completely different picture. Rather than a clumsy land dweller or a snorkel user, Tanystropheus was a stealthy, ambush predator of the shallows. Its body would have remained hidden, perhaps camouflaged among aquatic vegetation, while its incredibly long neck floated almost imperceptibly, like a biological periscope. When unsuspecting prey swam within range, its head would snap sideways with lightning speed, snatching the fish. Impossible, you might think. How could such a long neck be strong enough, yet flexible enough, to perform such a feat? This is where the engineering parallels become truly fascinating. When engineers compared the structure of Tanystropheus's vertebrae to blueprints for carbon fiber beams, they found something astonishing. The same tapered reinforcement strategies used in modern skyscraper struts. Nature, it turns out, had filed the patent for this advanced structural engineering long before any human architect dreamed it up. Tanystropheus is a spectacular example of how paleontology, combined with cutting-edge technology, can completely overturn long-held assumptions, revealing creatures far more sophisticated and specialized than we ever imagined. It's a testament to the endless ingenuity of evolution, and a powerful reminder that sometimes the most outlandish forms are the result of incredibly elegant and often familiar engineering solutions. Which of these timeline benders surprises you the most? Did the idea of a four-legged whale make you do a double take? Or maybe the idea of a giant, ancient, predatory worm? Drop the number 1 for Namacalathus, 10 for Tanystropheus, plus your absolute favorite weight, WHAT, moment in the comments below. I'll be replying with extra papers, links, and maybe even a few terrible sketches of my own. Now, let's talk about a classic, a dinosaur that spent a century stuck in a completely wrong narrative, Brontosaurus. For decades, the mighty Brontosaurus was depicted as a lumbering, slow-witted giant, eternally mired in waist-deep Jurassic swamps. The popular image was of a creature so heavy, so ponderous, that it simply couldn't support its own weight on dry land. It was thought to spend its days submerged, using the water to buoy its massive frame, munching on soft aquatic mosses. It was a neat, comforting story that fit the perceived limitations of such enormous animals. But here's the thing about science. It's always willing to reconsider, to challenge its own assumptions in the face of new evidence. And new evidence for Brontosaurus came in spades. Advanced computer models, meticulously simulating the biomechanics of its limb bones, revealed the startling truth. Those massive legs and powerful bone structures were perfectly capable of sustaining a 30-ton animal on solid ground. Not only capable, but well suited for it. The idea of it being too heavy for land was, quite simply, incorrect. Then came the chemical detective work. Scientists analyzed carbon isotope signatures within the fossilized teeth of Brontosaurus. These isotopes, like tiny diary entries, record an animal's diet and the environment it lived in. The results, they matched the isotopic signatures of plants found high in tree canopies, not the soft aquatic mosses of a swamp. This wasn't a bottom feeder. This was a high-level browser, reaching for leaves far above the ground. The impossible truth: the largest land animals to ever walk the earth weren't swamp-bound invalids. They were majestic, powerful creatures that strutted across open plains, likely migrating hundreds of miles between seasonal forests in search of food. They cracked their immense tails like bullwhips, creating sonic booms that echoed across the ancient landscape, communicating or perhaps warding off predators. No swamp boots required, no watery crutch needed. Brontosaurus, once a symbol of evolutionary clumsiness, was reimagined as a dynamic, awe-inspiring terrestrial giant, a testament to the incredible power and adaptability of life on land. This reinterpretation isn't just about one dinosaur. It's about fundamentally changing our understanding of how these enormous creatures lived and interacted with their environment. Every single creature we've talked about today, from the golf ball-sized Namacalathus to the blue whale-sized ichthyosaur, has shattered a previous limit. They've redefined the earliest skeleton, given us walking whales, introduced us to armored herbivore crocs, shone a sky, vacuum cleaners, and even revealed meter-long terrorworms. Each time, the process has followed a remarkably similar, almost ritualistic pattern. First, a fossil appears, often fragmentary, often baffling. Initially, experts, steeped in the prevailing wisdom, might cry hoax or dismiss it as an anomaly. It's a natural human reaction to something that fundamentally challenges what you know to be true. But then, more fossils appear, often from different locations, corroborating the initial, unbelievable find. The evidence mounts, becoming undeniable. And then, slowly, sometimes painstakingly, the rules get rewritten. The textbooks, those bastions of established knowledge, get reprinted. What does this tell us? It tells us that impossible is just a temporary label. It's a placeholder, a tag that science slaps onto reality until reality collects enough votes, enough undeniable evidence to win its case. It's a beautiful, messy, iterative process. Science isn't about having all the answers. It's about constantly questioning, constantly refining, constantly pushing the boundaries of what we thought we knew. These impossible beasts aren't just fascinating relics of the past. They are living, or rather, fossilized lessons in the very nature of scientific discovery itself. They teach us humility, they teach us resilience, and they teach us that the universe, and especially our own planet, is infinitely more creative and surprising than we could ever imagine. Evolution doesn't follow a tidy script, does it? It's not some predictable, linear progression from A to B. Oh no, evolution is far more audacious, far more experimental. It writes fan fiction with every fossilized chapter, constantly remixing, repurposing, and reinventing. Namacalathus, that tiny Ediacaran pioneer, reminds us that complex skeletons, those crucial building blocks of so much animal life, came into being far, far earlier than we ever dared to believe. It pushes back the very dawn of hard parts. Ambulocetus and Myocetus, those incredible four-legged whales, aren't just missing links. They are vibrant, undeniable proof that major life transitions, like the move from land to sea, aren't single, instantaneous leaps. Instead, they are experimental works in progress, multi-million-year journeys of adaptation, filled with fascinating intermediate forms. And it proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you can ditch your hooves, bulk up like a tank, and still graze like a champ, finding an entirely novel way to exploit your environment. From the colossal blue whale-sized ichthyosaur of Somerset to the terrifying meter-long terror worm of ancient Greenland, Earth keeps burying these incredible plot twists, these mind-bending surprises for anyone willing to chip away at the rock and read the ancient story. The only constant, the one undeniable truth that emerges from every one of these impossible beasts, is this: the more we dig, the more we discover, the less impossible anything truly looks. The universe is a vast, ancient laboratory, and life is its most prolific and inventive experimenter. If you want to dive even deeper into any of these truly astonishing specimens, check out the links I've pinned in the description below. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button for next week's episode, where we'll be asking a truly intriguing question: what lived in the shadows between the cataclysmic extinction of the dinosaurs and the rise of the first mammals? Spoiler alert, some of them had tusks on their faces and hooves on their toes, in combinations you absolutely won't expect. Until then, keep questioning the impossible, because 9 times out of 10, Earth already tried it.